Hello everyone, the Anime Down here with another video. This time we'll be looking at what are the best isekai out there, but there is a twist. We'll be looking at the best isekai in every genre of anime out there. But first, consider subscribing to our channel and ringing the bell for notifications whenever new videos come up. So let's get to the video. In regards to comedy, it has to be Konosuba. It's probably the most popular comedy isekai, but it's also the best. The anime's main strength comes from the main characters, and the overall light-hearted story, which all serves to keep on adding random characters that the story main crew has to deal with. Kazuma, as we all know, is the sort of guy who can be quite vile with his plans. He keeps striving to achieve any sort of good life for himself, but always fails or he has to backtrack for many reasons. This, alongside his party interactions and conflicts as well as the wacky enemies, creates a great deal of the comedy. The animation was not great, but it had very good voice actors and it was nicely put together in a way that enhanced the light mood. Even if Kazuma's actions were wicked, it didn't feel too evil or turned him into a distasteful character. The anime is a great deal of fun, and I believe somehow that it only having 2 seasons and a film so far is probably for the best, since the comedy wears itself thin over time as it starts to feel too samey, without any significant story or character development. I still think the anime is great, but I'm not sure I would watch any further seasons or films if they came out. Well, that is just for me. However, I still recommend it as the best comedy isekai for anyone. The winner when it comes to slice of life has got to be Kuma 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 Bear. Kuma Bear is quite a recent isekai show, but it is one of the best when it comes to slice of life. Look, I have seen quite a few of those and barely any of them are as pleasant and chill as this one. Yuna is a distant person and somewhat disillusioned with the real world, therefore she lives her life inside a VR MMO game, World Fantasy Online. The anime doesn't go as deep in her background as the light novel does, which reduces some of the impact when Yuna gradually opens herself up more later on. Back to the story though, a god disguised as a game admin sends her off to another world with the OP bear suit, after asking her a few questions. After taking a pause for a day, she gradually realizes she's in another world and gradually becomes absurdly overpowered because of the suit. Yes, the bear suit that is so powerful that she cannot remove. She winds up getting involved with many people and thus making friends which help her to open up. Obviously, at the same time she helps them with her powers. It is a simple story like most slice of life series. What makes Kuma the best per se is that it's colorful and pleasant to look at. Not to mention the music is also really appealing. It's got quite an array of tones for all kinds of homey moods. It's just a wonder to listen and watch. And I sometimes rewatch a few episodes every now and then. It is a very nice series. What if I told you a psychopath died and was reincarnated as a cute lolly? Weird, right? But that is exactly what Youjo Senki is about. The anime is pure madness. Not only does a dude get isekai'd as a blonde lolly orphan, but he or she is also recruited for the army. Best of all, this only happened just because he refuses to bow down to the so-called god after he's killed. Was it really worth it? The person who kills him is one of the people that the main character stepped on during the climb to the top of his company, and obviously in an act of petty vengeance he's pushed by the same person in front of a speeding train. Talk about karma, right? Okay, so let's get this right. The main character, after dying from treating people badly, refuses to call the creator of the isekai world God, instead calls him Being X. The guy who killed him is petty and also a murderer too now. The god wanting the main character to bow his head and show some respect is also petty and transforms him into a lolly. I mean, what? I told you, it's pure madness. In a serious note, I believe this serves to highlight the type of story it is. It's a story about flawed characters. The main character becomes a soldier and war erupts between the neighboring kingdoms. The anime kinds of draw inspiration from pre-World War I Europe, where there is a thin balance of power that assures peace, but it is quickly broken down. The main character is strong and cruel in the battlefield, but she quickly finds out that death is not an option. If Sanya fails to survive, she will fall in hell. And Sanya has to fight and stomp in anyone or anything that steps in her way. There is a great psychological aspect in this series, and it comes from the impact of war and the destruction it spreads, not only physically but mentally. It also includes the view of normal people of war and the psychopath-like main character, of course. That was a hard one to explain. I hope you all understood. If so, don't forget to sub and like. Moving on from crazy to kinky with How Not to Summon a Demon Lord, which is the best ecchi isekai there is. In this series, which I know you pervs have seen already, the main character finds himself in another world in the form of his in-game character. He was a hikikomori, so he is meek and not able to talk too much, so he instead uses his online persona much like a keyboard warrior and he claims himself to be the demon lord of another world, hence the title. The anime has a setup to be something like Overlord or Log Horizon, you would think. However, instead of doing something like those series, it goes for much more plot, if you know what I mean. Two people claim that they have summoned him into this other world. One is an elf with big boobs, always, and the other is a nekomimi, or should I say a cat girl with a flat chest. A clat girl. Sorry, that was quite bad. They both argue on who should claim Diablo as their summoned creature. However, the idiots do not realize that they have become enslaved by Diablo instead. Hence his journey with the two and the plot begins to roll forward. Diablo of course is super powerful. Isekai, what do you expect? So he defeats anyone that dares to trouble them in some way or another. Also, whilst doing that, he hooks other girls in the process, of course. These girls vary from a demon lolly, a rabbit ear lolly, a tongue lolly. There are a lot of lollies here, but there are also some girls with big boobs to compensate. I mean, variety is key in every harem, right? I can't forget to mention that there are a lot of ecchi scenes and later in the novel it gets even more so. Okay, let's get serious now, no more silly stuff. Now it's time for some serious anime, and when it comes to that, only one isekai comes to mind, and that is Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash. Grimgar came a few years ago. The clear distinction between Grimgar and other isekai series was that it was way more somber and realistic. In it, people are transported to another world every so often, but not to be heroes or anything, but to be just normal people. They only hold vague memories of their past and they find themselves having to adapt to the harsh world of Grimgar. Their only real option is to form parties and fight as soldiers. Haruhito is the main character, but he finds himself as a leftover person because of his fragile stature, so he joins a party of people like him, either weak looking or low in morale. The anime novel creates a more realistic story, not just through this initial setup, but because of how hard everything is in Grimgar. A party struggles to even kill a goblin at first, and after killing it, they realize that it's not a game, but a cruel reality that they must quickly get used to in order to survive. And this is a constant theme in the series that the author does not forget to remind the reader about every now and then. Hence, drama is a big component that builds up the action and adventure, as the emotional and psychological struggle that every character faces is a constant as the dangers to their life that the world throws at them. Yes, not every isekai has OP main characters. So after something a bit heavy and tragic, you want something a bit lighter that gives you a cool sense of adventure, yet still has an intriguing story, right? So what is the best isekai when it comes to that? It is of course Log Horizon. Log Horizon is a much older isekai, in fact it was one of the first ones to be animated, like I highlighted in my very first video. If you want to know the details, then watch it after this one. There are many adventure isekai out there, but Log Horizon for me captures a greater sense of adventure than any of them. One of the main reasons for that is the greater focus on world building, more so than other isekai that pivot more so on the main character and his direct surroundings. Log Horizon drifts away from the main cast and often develops other characters and at the same time expands the world view. It's not just world building that makes it have the best adventure, but also because it involves a lot of traveling to many places in this vast world. This traveling usually involves the main cast and they usually have a task or an issue to resolve that can involve battling or negotiating. This is another part of the great sense of adventure of Log Horizon, the down-to-earth atmosphere. It really feels like the fleshed out world of an VR MMO game that the viewer is exploring alongside the characters. And whilst it seems like the game, the players know things are not quite the same. In short, the way the story unfolds with the characters exploring and getting to know the game world that became reality allows it to capture the fun of adventure. So that was the main video guys, leave a comment with your favorite isekai and if we forgot any main genres. Also, don't forget to subscribe. Catch you guys later.